Major League Baseball's trading deadline has come and gone, and now the race to the playoffs begins. The Braves have played their best baseball of late. They've won 5 straight on this post-All-Star Game homestand. Tonight, it's Mike Minor on the mound, coming off a 7-inning, 1-run outing against the Cardinals. Tonight, it's Game 3 of this 4-game set against the Rockies. Braves baseball comes your way next. It's time for Braves baseball tonight from Turner Field in Atlanta. The Braves continue their torrid homestand. They've opened up a 10.5 game lead over the Nationals in the National League East, and they try to make it a perfect 6-0 here at home after the All-Star break. And hi again, friends, along with Joe Simpson and Braves legend Dale Murphy. I'm Chip Carey, and fellas, quite simply, you can't play any better than the Braves have done so far on this perfect homestand, can you?
No, they can't do anything much better. You look, they're filling up the stat sheet everywhere you need to fill it up and doing everything well. Their ERA, starting pitching, and the bullpen is incredible, and when you're scoring runs in a bunch like the Braves are, it's going to be pretty good.
You know what they're doing that's really fun during this streak is that they're winning different ways. That Cardinal series, a lot of close ball games. They got good, solid starting pitching, outstanding work in the bullpen, and you see there no errors in this homestand, so they're picking it too. But last night a blowout, so you like winning them all different kinds of ways.
And the Braves are taking advantage of this favorable schedule in the second half. You certainly enjoy that. And as I mentioned, with Washington getting blown out earlier, the Braves lead by 10.5 games before they've thrown a pitch here tonight. When we come back, we'll talk about Freddie Freeman's hot homestand when we return to Atlanta in a moment. Coming up here at Turner Field in Atlanta, and fellas, we've all been amazed and very, very happy to see Freddie Freeman put together the year he's had in 2013. He's an all-star, you know, and Murph, so far against the Colorado Rockies, he's proven that.
Yeah, no question, Chip. Look up in the dictionary and the definition of locked in, and you'll see Freddie Freeman's picture. I'm sure he's got this video montage somewhere available to him really closely, so we can always refer to it because he's taking some beautiful swings, Joe.
I was teasing him today before the ball game about how he's locked in Murph, and I was asking him about that home run he hit last night, and he said he threw 2 fastballs by me, and he thought he could throw a third one by me. What's he thinking? Well, he's the subject of our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot. How about these numbers against the Rockies? 10 homers, 23 RBIs in 20 games. And you got to remember, not all of those are at Coors Field. A lot of those here at Turner Field. So good work for Freddie against the Colorado Rockies. Hopefully he's got a couple more good games left in him for this series.
Well, he's shown the Rockies he can hit a fastball, and you figure against Tyler Chatwood he'll see a few more tonight. Mike Minor takes the ball for the Braves. He looks for his 11th victory of this 2013 campaign. Beautiful night for baseball. Glad you're with us. It's Game 3, Braves and Rockies baseball, and it's coming up right after this. By Delta Airlines and by Ford. Braves continue to roll here at home. A perfect homestand so far. They look to see that continue behind Mike Minor, who looks for his 11th victory of the year. Tyler Chatwood, the hard thrower, goes to the post for the Colorado Rockies. Our colleague Tom Hart is alongside as well, and we welcome him to the broadcast tonight. Hello, Tom.
The deadline happened? Nothing happened. Nobody got traded. It was the most boring trade deadline ever, but a couple of guys moved late this afternoon. Bud Norris was perhaps the biggest name, and all he had to do was change lockers and literally walk across the hallway. Here's what went down. A move between the Dodgers and Twins at 3:55 was the latest for a 4 o'clock trade deadline. Maxwell went to the Royals from Houston. Now, there were some bigger names that went down even a couple of weeks ago. So some teams did acquire impact players. Of course, the Braves needed a left-handed reliever. They got that in 12-year veteran Scott Downs from the Angels. Jake Peavy was perhaps the biggest name yesterday. He goes to Boston from the White Sox. They needed an arm. The Rangers still need a bat. They passed on that, but they acquired Matt Garza from the Cubs. Still more moves could happen, especially past the non-waiver trade deadline, and Braves general manager Frank Wren has said they will continue to look at bats, specifically someone to back up the infield. There could be more moves coming. They've made moves past the non-waiver deadline each of the last 3 seasons. But if this were a fantasy league, Chip, in terms of lack of movement, it would be disbanded, and all the guys who are in the league would be mad at each other. Not much excitement today.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, Walt Jocketty, the fine general manager with the Cincinnati Reds was quoted earlier today as saying this was the slowest, deadest trade deadline he's ever seen. And there were a lot of buyers and not a whole lot of sellers. And what was being sold, fellas, apparently the price was exorbitantly high. And that's one reason why Frank and the Braves decided to sit this one out. That at a 10.5 game lead. So we'll talk about that as the evening progresses. Here's a look at the Rockies starting lineup. Atlanta's Dexter Fowler leads off. Charlie Culberson, he's out of Rome, Georgia. He bats and plays second. Carlos Gonzalez, Troy Tulowitzki, and Michael Kadire, the heart of the order, with Nolan Arenado at third base. Todd Helton, Yorvik Torrealba gets the start behind the plate, and hard-throwing Tyler Chatwood bats ninth.
Mike Minor on the mound for his 22nd start. He's 10-5, a 2.89 ERA overall, but his last 4 starts outstanding, including that win over the Cardinals over the weekend. 7 innings, 4 hits, just 1 run allowed to that good hitting St. Louis team. No walks. He's not walked a batter in about 7 starts this year, which really has improved his numbers. Only 28 walks, 137 innings on the year. His 4 keys to pitching success, that is ace-like work for Mike. He has really stepped up his game. And number 2, he had ditched his cutter early in the season, and it is back, and it's been a very effective pitch for him.
And Joe, I love the terminology there, ace-like work. Minor leads the team in innings, ERA, strikeouts, and the fewest hits. So he is indeed pitching like a top-of-the-rotation guy. Let's hope it continues in Game 3 against Colorado. And we're underway with the ball off the plate to Dexter Fowler. A lot cooler tonight, 76 degrees after a 90-degree start here last night.
Joe, you mentioned him getting his cutter back. I think with this generation of young pitchers, of pitchers that have had success with the cutter.
Fowler with a shot into center field. That'll get down in front of Jason Hayward. And Dexter Fowler has his 2nd hit of the series. I'll lead off first inning single.
What I was trying to say was, with the success that this generation of pitchers has had with the cutter, that would be a pitch that I would work and work to perfect. I mean, I know talking to Chipper Jones, he said that cutter is the toughest pitch for him to hit. I didn't have to face that many. I don't imagine you faced that many pitchers with it. It's a great pitch. I'm glad to see him get it back.
So you heard a big cheer for Charlie Culberson out of Rome. He bats with Fowler at first. A rare interdivisional trade was worked between the Rockies and the Giants. This is the kid that Colorado got for Marco Scutaro. He's having a good year down at AAA with 14 homers, 64 RBIs, and a .310 batting average. That's in the air to center. Hayward's got plenty of room and makes the play. Fowler back to first. That's out number 1. Big key on this perfect homestand so far has been Atlanta's defense. As Joe and Murph mentioned, Braves have not committed an error on the homestand against the Cardinals and Colorado, a trend you certainly like to see.
And the neat thing about that is that Jason's playing in center field, even though we have seen and have grown to really like him out there. That's not his natural position. And Evan Gattis a lot in left field. He's doing just fine out there, thank you.
Carlos Gonzalez is the Colorado third-place hitter. A 5-hit game in Game 1. Fowler runs. Swing and a miss. Throw is on target and in time. Dexter Fowler's thrown out for the 5th time this year. McCann guns him out for the 2nd out of the inning.
What a catch and release by Brian McCann. Probably the toughest throw to throw a guy out on. Good pick by Andrelton there. Slider down. Tough pitch to get rid of quickly.
I'm not taking anything away from Brian because it was right on the money. But when you slide 15 feet from the bag head first, you're going to slow down a little bit after they've watered down the infield right before the start of the game. It took him a while to get to the bag.
So quickly 0-2 to Cargo. And don't think those numbers are Coors Field inflated. Gonzalez was a player who did much more damage in his home ballpark, as you'd expect, than he did on the road. This season, .337 away from Denver.
Yeah, check it out. Even more home runs away from Coors Field.
He's shown that in this series with 5 hits so far. He continues his first inning at bat with a 2-2 count. Rocky start play tonight, 7.5 games behind the streaking Dodgers. LA has won 4 in a row. Colorado's 4 behind Arizona for second place. And starting a long road trip with the Braves. It'll continue on to Pittsburgh and New York.
San Diego made a move, as you saw just moments ago. Tom Hart showing you the limited movement, but they picked up Ian Kennedy today from their intra-divisional rival, the Diamondbacks. I thought that was a pretty good move. I know Thatcher's a real good left-handed reliever for San Diego, but Kennedy's value's down, so the price wasn't exorbitant. The payoff will be whether or not the Padres can handle his numbers when he gets to arbitration. But because he hadn't won a game in a couple of months, a guy who's in double figures and wins the last 2 years, that was a good pickup.
Mike Minor just struck out Carlos Gonzalez and lost the bat, and that got a piece of Brian McCann on the way by.
Hurt Gonzalez too.
So Fowler gets a leadoff hit. He's thrown out trying to steal, and we go to the bottom of the first scoreless. Very slowly out to his position in left field after he lost the bat handle, which ricocheted off Brian McCann and the home plate umpire Marty Foster.
Looked like it got McCann right in the collarbone. Right elbow seemed to get hyperextended there, but he's shaking his hand like it was his wrist too. Everybody got dinged on that one.
Yeah, so Cargo 0 for 1, but has a 3-hit night. After his first look at Mike Minor. Here come the Braves. Their Toyota starting 9 has Jason Hayward, who sizzled out of the leadoff position. Upton, Freeman, Gaddis, McCann, Chris Johnson, the leading hitter. At third base, Dan Uggla, Andrelton Simmons, and Mike Minor, and a real challenge. Tyler Chatwood's having a big year for the Rockies.
He sure is. 7-3, a 2.48 ERA. His last 4 starts, some of his best. His last one against Milwaukee, no walks, 11 strikeouts in 7 innings. 3 starts in his career against Atlanta, a 1-1 record, and a 5+ ERA. His 4 keys to pitching success tonight: 79%. Right at 79% of his outs are either ground ball or strikeouts. That's enormous. He's got a hard sinker in the low 90s, and he's really getting a lot of confidence in his slider.
So obviously you want to make him get the ball up.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Patience. Try not to swing at anything that starts at your knees.
There's the breaking ball.
Yeah,
corner 1-2.
It's interesting to have a sinker that good and have that many strikeouts, because usually you're not a strikeout pitcher.
Ground ball to the right side and through the wickets of Culberson. He had to go to his right, couldn't field it cleanly, and it's an E4. Good start for the Braves in the first inning.
Not a good start for Culberson. His first start in the big leagues. On the first ground ball hit to him. Good for Atlanta.
Well, the Rockies have scored first in each of the first 2 games of the series. Let's see if Atlanta can return the favor tonight. Justin Upton's bat is livening up. He's got 5 hits in the last 4 games played. And he does. A base hit up the middle. First hit of the game for Atlanta. 5-game hitting streak for Upton. Freddie Freeman, the Rocky Killers, coming up.
Justin had a nice smile on his face today, playing catch, getting ready for batting practice. I said, man, a couple of good swings last night. And then it was just ear-to-ear grin. He was feeling really good about what he did last night and what he has been doing during this streak.
So Chatwood's gotten the ball on the ground for the first 2 Braves hitters, but has no luck. And immediate trouble. 2 on, nobody out for Freeman, who has worn out the Rockies. Line drive into center field. That's a hit. Here comes Jason around third. Fowler will throw it into second. It's 1-0 Atlanta.
Isn't it amazing how an error to start an inning can affect it so mightily? What a good piece of hitting.
Yeah, that was a good piece of hitting. Really not a bad pitch. It didn't have his sink that I think we've all heard about. And looks like the guys, one of the scouting reports must read, be aggressive early. Everybody's coming out swinging. Good stuff.
A run, 2 hits, and an error on the first 6 pitches for Chatwood tonight. Gaddis does swing early in the count, missed the slider.
Chatwood's induced 13 double plays in his 83 innings. That's not enough innings to qualify for the league leaders. If he had enough innings, that would be second among major leaguers behind Jake Westbrook.
No balls and a strike for Evan. Now it's even 1-1. We talked a lot last night, fellas, about what the Rockies are trying to accomplish with their pitching staff. And either you, Joe, or Dale made the point. You can get the ball on the ground in Denver. You can get it on the ground anywhere. That translates to any major league park.
Well, and talking to a couple of the broadcasters for the Rockies today, he said they're actually doing that. They're letting the grass grow a little deeper and a little thicker. And they're even doing that in the outfield to try to help cut down on automatic triples that get to the gap, give the outfielders a chance to cut them off.
Well, last year the Rockies starters won a total of 29 games. This year they've shaved almost a run and a half off their starters' earned run average. So they are much improved from a year ago. As Gaddis drives one towards center, that's going to be playable for Fowler. Upton at second will tag. Dexter's throw comes into second, and the Braves have runners at the corners with one out. A productive out for Evan Gaddis. And another hot hitter's coming up. That's Brian McCann.
Launched this one off Nicasio last night, that 6-run inning. Brian McCann is 14th of the year.
Everybody's swinging the bat really well. Have they announced a pitcher for tomorrow yet?
Yes. A young man making his major league debut named Bettis.
Chad Bettis. Ground ball to Hilton at first. He'll fire to second for one. And the double play gets Chatwood out of the first inning. He's gotten the ball on the ground a couple of times, but Atlanta strikes first and leads by a run after one. Well, it's time to get pensive as we solicit our AT&T U-verse trivia question tonight. Since 2007, Dan Uggla and Troy Tulowitzki ranked first and third in RBIs among National League middle infielders. Who's sandwiched in between in the second spot in RBIs since 2007?
I always say Hank Aaron to all these questions. I guess it's not going to work tonight.
You can guess it, but I don't think that's the right answer.
Okay, so second, huh?
Do I have to be pensive?
No.
But do you have any reason not to be pensive? How's your average here in these? Pretty good? You doing pretty good? My average, I got my first hit last night.
Pensive.
Troy Tulowitzki leads off hitting number 2.
I do a lot better when I'm maudlin.
Maudlin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tulo 1 for 8 in this series and 0 for 5 in his career against Mike Minor. He missed about a month this year with injury for the Rockies. And that evens the count. A ball and a strike. There was a lot of talk, guys, about a week ago about the Braves maybe trying to add a starting pitcher at the deadline. I mentioned a couple of times the prices were extremely high. Peavy, of course, went to Boston Red Sox. As this ball's popped up to the right side for Freddie Freeman, who backpedals and makes the play. Kansas City's got a hot streak, so Irvin Santana was probably off the shelf. But Freddie Gonzalez last week, too, I think offered a clue, and I thought it was an interesting comment that he made. Every manager likes their club, quite obviously, and will say so publicly, but Freddie said, look, at some point, if you're going to make the playoffs, your young pitchers have to pitch in them. And I don't know if that was a subconscious urge to stick with what he's got, or a reminder that these guys are awfully talented and pitching great baseball too in Minor and Tehran. It's not to say something couldn't happen after the trading deadline today, but I thought that was an interesting comment. And obviously today, interesting results, and that the Braves were quiet. They did their dealing earlier in getting Scott Downs.
I think it goes back. I choose to believe that it goes back to the price. You know, at what price do you try to improve your ball club if you're very happy with the way the team is positioned right now? And who wouldn't be? But the fact that you're not in a position where you have to make a deal, or that the Nationals made a deal, now you got to try to keep pace and be competitive because it's going to come down to the wire. That's not the case right now. So why mortgage, some of your good young talent to do that?
And having a big lead certainly helps make those decisions, or those lack of transactions, easier too. But Dave Baker and I were talking before the game. Think back to 1991 when the Braves, that Dave Baker, yeah, when the Braves made the playoffs. The four guys that started the first round of the playoffs, as Kadire drives one to center, were John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, Steve Avery, and Kent Mercker. No playoff
young guys, right?
No experience.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see history repeat itself should the Braves earn their way to postseason play.
Well, I think, like you said, Chip, too, these guys are pretty good. These guys, I mean, it'd be one thing if they were just kind of out there and it was a little touch and go every time they went out there, but you're getting to the point where you know what to expect out of these young guys. They've been very consistent, and it's hard to not give those guys confidence. Plus, if Huddy wasn't injured, we probably wouldn't be talking about it at all. Probably.
No.
I mean,
that's a good point.
And these guys are impressive.
Bouncing ball by Nolan Arenado to short, and Mike Minor is off to an impressive start. He's faced the minimum through 2 innings and leads by a run. Work. Chris Johnson will lead things off, batting a cool .341, and he's our Ram Trucks Power Stats feature tonight.
5 straight multi-hit games. That's amazing. Since Juan Francisco was designated for assignment, he's hit .337, but he was still splitting a little bit of time there with Ramiro Pena until Ramiro hurt his shoulder that required surgery. So basically, the last 43 games when the job has pretty much been his and his alone, a .358 average. Outstanding.
And he's buzzed inside. 1 ball, no strikes from Tyler Chatwood.
Chatwood is solid. He's 6 feet, 185 pounds. Maybe built a little bit like Roy Oswalt. Went to the same high school, I believe the same high school as Tommy Hansen. They were high school buddies. Chatwood was maybe a year younger, but a number 2 pick by the Angels back in '08.
And a terrific athlete, we understand, too,
Yeah.
Joe. He didn't learn the art of pitching until very late in high school.
Yeah, his senior year. He was going to UCLA to play center field. He was going to be a position player, and his batting average would bear that out now. Terrific hitter.
And behind Chris, 3 balls and a strike.
The thing about this Rockies team coming in, they're 10-16 over the last 26 games. So they're not dazzling anybody.
Fly ball center. Fowler going back. Look at that ball carry. And to within a step of the wall, Johnson is out number 1.
But they came into this series with 3 pitchers that are really pitching well. De La Rosa, last night Nicasio, and Chatwood, who's come in 3-1 with a 195 over his last 4. Well, the first 2 guys got lit up. As they said, probably 2 of their worst games those 2 guys have pitched all year. So they're hoping that Chatwood can kind of balance things out tonight.
And misses high to Dan Uggla. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, you talk about the way the guys are swinging the bat, though, Joe. That's why I asked if they'd announced the pitcher yet for tomorrow. So the way the Braves are swinging, there might be a couple pitchers AWOL.
Yep.
That's like
Pitching coach drags him to the mounds and
Yeah.
go.
Well, but you're right. They are pitching well. Here's what I'd like. Here's a scenario. Take the Braves bullpen and put them with the Rockies. That bullpen we're featuring, along with the starting pitching, nowadays with 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th guys assigned, if that's not locked down like the Braves have shown, you're going to run into trouble.
Uggla took a strike. It's a 3-1 count. Especially with the philosophy that the Rockies are employing. They're keeping all their starters right around 100 pitches. As Uggla got drilled on the shoulder and takes first base with 1 out. Andrelton Simmons has a very impressive streak along with his Braves, and for more on that, let's check in with Elizabeth Morrow.
Chip, you're right. Well, it seems like he's been doing everything on the field. The one thing he's not been doing is striking out. He has not struck out 1 time since the All-Star break, and he is the subject of our Academy Outdoors and Sports leaderboard. Simmons currently ranks 3rd, tied with who else but Martin Prada with 57 consecutive plate appearances without a strikeout. In the month of July, he has struck out 2 times in that span. He had 3 triples. When I talked to him, I promised him I wasn't going to jinx him. Guys?
Hope you're right. As that one gets away from the catcher, Jorvit Torrealba couldn't handle one in the dirt. And on the wild pitch, Dan Uggla moves to second base.
I cannot relate to those stats like that. Let me work with Andrelton for about 10 minutes. I'll change that.
No.
Really quick.
No.
Man, how did guys go that long without striking out? Man alive, that's...
You can help him.
Yeah. So boring.
Liner into left. Gonzalez has a cannon. Let's see if the Braves challenge it. They do. Throw to the plate is going to be in time with a tag applied on the slide by. Uggla thought he got in under the tag. Freddie Gonzalez will come out and argue.
Well, it's a good thing he got the call because he airmailed the throw. But again, we talked at the beginning of this series about what a good arm for a left fielder Cargo has. On the fly, Torrealba had to come up the line. Did he whiff on him? From Marty Foster's angle, he didn't. But it sure looked like he whiffed on him. The only way he tagged him was on the back, and that was too late.
Well, I think the challenge. I think Dan might have done just a tad wide on his turn, but you could, from that angle, though, it's going to look like he tagged him. I don't know if there's a better angle you can get as a home plate umpire, but for that angle, it's going to look like he tagged it. But here we go. Yeah, I don't.
That was a 100% whiff.
Yep.
So a gift-wrapped assist for Carlos Gonzalez is the second out of the inning, and Mike Minor bats after Simmons' single and his advanced second on the throw.
Well, he's got a 2-assist lead thanks to that call.
Bouncing ball up the middle. The throw to first is in time to get Minor, and that ends the Braves' threat in the second. Close call goes Colorado's way. They trail by a run after 2. By the Home Depot and by Toyota. Pretty picture so far in Atlanta, where the Braves enjoy a 1-0 advantage. Mike Minor has faced the minimum in his first 2 looks at the Rockies, and you know the man on the right of your picture always likes to see that from an Atlanta starter.
I was a little surprised Bobby didn't come out on the field and argue a little bit on that call at the plate. He had a good view of it.
But a tough break for Uggla. He was called out. The assist goes to Carlos Gonzalez. And now Minor goes to work with Todd Helton, Yorvit Torrealba, and Tyler Chatwood for the Rockies. Braves have dominated the series against Colorado in this ballpark. The Braves coming into play tonight have won 10 of the last 11 here against Todd Helton's club. And a foul at the plate, strike 1.
Those of you that are in our viewing audience and a Colorado Rocky fan, that must mean you're a Todd Helton fan, have to be. Tomorrow night might be your last chance to see him at Turner Field. He hasn't said that he's going to retire, but there's a chance. That person certainly trying to take advantage of this opportunity.
Banned for a month. Yeah.
An elite hitter. 320 lifetime average for Todd Helton. And pulled foul to stay alive. 0-2. I can't imagine how hard it has to be at 320.
320
in the major leagues.
We've been talking about his Hall of Fame credentials and whether or not some writers would hold it against him that he played just all of his home games at Coors Field. But a 289 overall average away from Coors Field. Nothing to sneeze at either.
Well, I think he's one of the guys. I remember your conversation you were having earlier, Joe, with one of the challenges. I know when I get involved with Hall of Fame voting, it's kind of self-serving, but that broadcasters that see him, beat writers that see guys play every day. You know, sometimes I know the Atlanta beat writers don't get to vote because there's seemingly a conflict of interest. I don't understand that, because I think when you see a guy like Todd Helton play, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's any question. Not sure enough of the writers see him sometimes.
I agree, and I think that needs to be kind of addressed again in terms of who's eligible to vote. There's some guys retired still voting that aren't covering games anymore. I don't know that that's right.
Swing and a miss. Helton retired by a minor. Mike's second strikeout of the game. Well, I've always thought, as a non-voter and a fan, that the simplest way for me for the Hall of Fame, were you a dominant player in the era in which you played? You can't compare today's players to the 20s, 20s players to the 70s. It's a zero-sum game. The game has changed in so many dramatic ways.
Yeah, and you said self-serving, Dale. I don't look at it that way for your comments, and I don't think any fans do either. A lot of us have been on your soapbox for several years, but that goes to what Chip just said, dominant in the era in which you played. There are a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that haven't hit those benchmark numbers, like 300 wins for pitchers, that are in the Hall of Fame. Sandy Koufax comes to mind right away. So does Don Drysdale. But when they were pitching, they were as good as it got.
Joey Alba is the second outlet.
I'm not saying that because you're sitting here.
Well,
but the fact remains, you won back-to-back MVP titles and had put up numbers on some teams that weren't exactly vying for championships. And I think that there's something to be said for that, too.
Well, I appreciate it, Joe, and Chip. I know you guys have been very supportive, and Don and Jim on the radio side, and the whole Braves organization, for that matter. I think, I didn't really look at it that much till really it came down to my last year being on the ballot, when I started learning some things about the voters. Like you said, Joe, it's kind of odd that some guys still have a voting privilege that are retired, that aren't covering the game. And then you get a guy like David O'Brien and Mark Bowman, the writers that for the Braves, that watch the game every day, that their vote is considered that who they write for, they don't allow them to vote because they're afraid of a conflict of interest. And yet these are the guys that are seeing it the last decade.
Every day.
Every single day. And, if you can't trust someone with that vote and worried about a conflict of interest, I'd worry more about the guys that aren't watching the game that still have a vote.
Right.
That would seem more of a problem to me.
And why isn't there a peer group amongst the peers themselves, the players, who would have a say? Wouldn't you know who was a great player and who wasn't? You, after all, are playing against them.
Well, they did sort of address that with that Veterans Committee that is composed of a lot of Hall of Fame players. It also has some veteran broadcasters, media types in that committee too, but at least they can kind of help do some oversight selections.
But that's, if I'm not mistaken, for guys that, as in Dale's case, are no longer on the active ballot, and for guys that played in the 60s and earlier.
Yeah, it alternates eras.
Eras, right. It doesn't help the Craig Biggios or Dale Murphys, as it were. As Mike Minor doesn't need much help right now. He is dealing. He's thrown 38 pitches, only 9 balls in 3 scoreless innings tonight. By Georgia Power, by Ram Trucks, by Crown Royal, and by AT&T. Well, hope that youngster has a very happy birthday today. It's off to a good start. With the Braves enjoying a 1-0 lead. Mike Miners faced the minimum with 3 strikeouts in his first 3 innings of work. Jason Hayward reached on a second baseman's error and scored on a Freddie Freeman single to make it 1-0. Jason will get it started for the Braves here with the third.
I think she's looking at you, Chip.
Either that or the way the Braves are playing and the Nationals are playing, you might need those to see the second place team in the standings.
Wow.
Whew. Nationals won. Tigers 11.
Yikes. And here are the standings in the division up to the moment. The Braves with a 10.5 game lead.
Bryce Harper said after the game, we've got 9 games left with the Braves. It isn't over yet. It's keeping the faith.
And we'll see the Nationals on our next road trip. Phillies first, then Washington. Hayward way outside. Chatwood's missed with 3 straight.
What did I tell you? It was 12 out of the, at the conclusion of this homestand, 12 of the next 15 games are against Philly and Washington.
Jason Hayward coaxes a leadoff walk. First one of those from Mr. Chatwood tonight. Let's check out our Home Depot tools from the dugout. Talk more about that big Braves lead.
Biggest lead since the end of the season in 2004. That was a long time ago. Only 7 games remain versus teams with a 500 or better record, and only one of those teams is in the National League, and that's the Cardinals. Braves still have some games left, 3 games left with the Cleveland Indians here at Turner Field late in August.
The way they're playing, the way they're hitting, they're liable to finish the way they started, on fire. That last month might be like that first month. Again, we've talked about it a long time before the All-Star break. I mean, it wasn't quite as close to the middle as it usually is. There's not a lot of time left, really, when you think about it. I mean, you keep saying 2 months left, but how many games exactly are we talking?
54 games, 54 after tonight.
Yeah, a third of the season left. After tonight's play. And Upton behind, no balls, 2 strikes.
Well, the challenge for the teams chasing the Braves, of course, obviously, is that you can't come in and win 2 out of 3. You can't have them come up there and win 2 out of, you can't win 2 out of 3. You got to sweep them. And I just don't see a lot of series sweeps with this ball club, the way they're constructed, the way they're pitching, hitting, and that bullpen.
Hayward a big lead at first. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And a base hit by Upton. Behind in the count. Justin's 2 for 2 and 7 for his last 17.
I watched him on the first pitch, and he was taking all the way. That's a rarity for Justin, that he wasn't ready to jump on that first pitch fastball if he got it. But he was very calm, very relaxed. And then when he took the swing on the base hit, he also was very calm and very relaxed and really quick.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. I think when you're taken all the way and you just stand there and watch that first pitch and not even show any interest, you're completely confident. You're like, I don't even care if it's a strike. I just want to see a pitch. If it's a strike, so what? If it's a ball, even better.
Isn't it amazing how well you see the ball, too?
Yes.
Freeman bats, 2 on, nobody out. The last guy the Rockies want to see with men on base. With all the damage Freddie has done against Colorado pitching. 10 homers, 24 RBIs in 21 career games against Colorado for Mr. Freeman.
Talked about Chatwood's ability to get double plays, and that's what got him out of the first inning mess. He's also, in 83 innings, he's only given up 3 home runs. All of those have been at Coors Field. 2 of them were in 1 inning. So for a guy to pitch that much in that ballpark and only give up 3 long ones, you know he's got a good sinker working.
But he's behind another hitter. 3 balls, no strikes. We're in the Braves' third, 1-0. Green light and a rocket into right center field. That'll get down for a run-scoring hit. Hayward comes home. Upton will be stopped at third. It's 2-0 Atlanta.
Well, another sign that you're locked in is not even don't worry about taking the first pitch like Justin Upton, but when you're hitting 3-0, it's almost like you don't feel. I didn't like to hit 3-0. I felt like I was going to chase a little bit too much. I said, okay, I'm 3-0. I can take a pitch, and you're confident when you're hitting 3-0. Good to see him have the green light there.
And so many guys, like you were talking about, maybe chasing a bad pitch, they overswing too much 3-0, thinking they're going to get a cookie to try to hit out of the ballpark. That fastball was running away from him a little bit, and he put a nice swing on it. Didn't try to do too much.
So Hayward scored 2 runs tonight out of the leadoff spot. Freeman has RBIs number 70 and 71. Atlanta leads by 2 and has Evan Gattis up with nobody out. Ball, no strikes.
That one's smaller. I don't care for that one.
Chatwood made a start against the Braves in Colorado. The last game of that 3-game frozen tundra series, and he got a no decision. Went 6 innings, but he gave up 9 hits and 4 earned runs. 1-1 lifetime against Atlanta in 3 starts. And they're laying off that low fastball, guys.
It's funny. First time through the order, the Braves were very aggressive going after the first or second pitch. Chatwood's thrown ball 3 to 3 of the first 4 hitters in this 3rd inning.
15 pitches in the inning, only 4 strikes. And 2 of those were base hits. Thanks, Dave.
Another green light. 3 balls and a strike. That was Ted Williams' secret. Rule number 1 of hitting: get a good pitch to hit. Atlanta happy to play the waiting game. 3 balls and a strike. Hot shot past Tulowitzki. It's 3-0 Braves. Right now, this offense is a buzzsaw.
Couldn't agree more.
This is how you get a ground ball through the infield. You hit it like that.
Yeah.
If you want to call that a ground ball. But I think the guys are squaring everything up. I mean, even the outs are either hit hard or just missed.
Hitting is so mental with respect to confidence, and this guy at the plate right now, he can't wait for the next pitch to be thrown to him. Brian last night, I think he only had the 1 hit, and that was the homer. He also had a walk, but he had a liner to right. He had a deep fly to left. He was putting some good heavy-duty swings on him.
A huge July for the Braves catcher. And now Torrealba out for a Chat as Chat Wood behind again. This time 2 balls, no strikes. Speaking of Braves catchers, hope Gerald Laird's resting comfortably tonight. Gerald had to undergo a procedure to help remove a kidney stone. That's been bothering him for the last couple of days. I would and can only assume that he's not available tonight.
One would assume. I heard some yelling earlier. I thought that was for that run that scored in the first inning, but maybe it wasn't.
Swing, drive, belted deep right. McCann is locked in.
Everything is right on the screws.
Woo. Wow, that's identical to last night. Look at that head. Bobby likes it.
Three-run homers. I'm not sure that there's a manager or former manager out there that doesn't like 3-run homers.
So Chris Johnson and the Braves enjoy a 6-0 lead. 5 runs across in this third inning, and still no one out.
Walt Weiss talked about this after last night's game. He said, man, we just got to stay out of the big innings. 6-run inning in game 1, 6-run inning in game 2, and here we go again.
These two teams were among the best in baseball with multi-run innings coming into this series. And you know the Rockies don't want to go back into their bullpen, a bullpen that's been used very frequently already in the first 2 games. But they may not have a choice. Adam Ottavino begins to loosen.
Nine straight games hit in safely now by Chris Johnson.
No balls and a strike. Dan was hit by a pitch and was thrown out at the plate by Carlos Gonzalez. That play looking less and less important now with a 6-run advantage.
I said Monday to you, Chip, that this lineup had really grown on me, and I don't know if this is kind of what's kind of stirring these guys up offensively, but it's working.
Hayward's been great in the leadoff spot, setting the table.
And I think he went into the leadoff spot the second game of that series against the Cardinals.
That sounds right.
It wasn't Friday night, last Friday night, but I think it started on Saturday and through tonight.
He's 7 for 18 in that stretch, batting first. You got Upton hitting second with your hottest hitter, Freddie Freeman. So you figure Upton's going to see a lot of fastballs. Then you have Gaddis to protect Freeman. And then you have Brian McCann hitting fifth. I mean, that is very deep.
He's got the league leader hitting sixth. Right? Chris Johnson coming up. I think what's interesting to me, we talked about it last night, and they're cutting their strikeouts down. I think it would have been really easy for this team. They're winning so much, they got a big lead, to settle for the fact that we're all calling them, and they were, an all or nothing team. And I think they just didn't settle for that. And I admire them for trying to make improvements, more quality at bats, and again gets back to really good coaching and some coachable guys, which doesn't always happen.
Agla is down on strikes, and that's the first out of the inning. The 7th man to bat in the Braves' third. One down.
And after an outing against Milwaukee where he struck out 11, that's his first strikeout tonight, too.
Well, and getting back to this lineup, like you say, that, then you got Andrelton Simmons hitting 8th, which is a tough position to hit in and not strike out occasionally because they're pitching around you, throwing you junk, trying to get to the pitcher, and he hasn't struck out in, what was the stat?
It's now 58 plate appearances.
I mean, it's a tough lineup, very tough.
Well, let me give you some numbers for their starting pitchers in this series. Coming into Monday night, De La Rosa, his last 7 games, 3-1 with a 1.96. Nicasio in July, 2-0 with an 0.47 ERA. Had given up 1 run.
Another shot toward right center off the bat of Simmons. Johnson on his way to third. Andrelton will stand with a double. He's 2 for 2.
And this guy tonight came in his last 4 starts, 3-1, a 1.95 ERA. They were excited about these 3 pitchers and the way they were pitching, and they were pitching brilliantly, and the Braves are wearing them out. Good grief.
That's how you add 28, 29 points to your team average with runners in scoring position in a month.
That's how you go to double digits in a lead, in your first place lead, too.
That's impressive.
So again, the Braves bat around, this time in the 3rd.
Didn't score a million runs against the Cardinals, but that staff is incredible and scored runs, quality at bats, game in and game out against a veteran pitching staff in the Cardinals, and now here's young guys pitching well for the Rockies. And like you say, Joe, they're just wearing these guys out.
Braves have batted around each of the last 3 games. Laser Baker has an amazing stat. In this series, the Braves are 14 for 30 with runners in scoring position.
Ooh. That'll get some runs home.
And we talk about it being contagious as a team, and why would that be that way in baseball when it's kind of an individual thing? The reason why it becomes so contagious is you're relaxed with guys in scoring position, because if you don't drive them in, someone else is going to get them.
And Minor helps himself with a hit. Johnson scores. Simmons stops at 3rd. It's 7-0 Atlanta. Tyler Chatwood is not missing any bats in this game. He's already allowed 10 hits.
That's going to finish his night. He's his sinker, his A1 pitch is not sinking tonight. It's staying flat, and the Braves aren't missing it.
So after an 11 strikeout, no walk performance in which he pitched 7 innings, Tyler Chatwood got ambushed. 7 runs, 10 hits, and the men aboard his responsibility as the Braves continue in the 3rd.
Nothing. And all season long, Braves baseball on Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. We will wrap up the series with the Rockies here tomorrow night. And here are your Chevron probable starters.
Chad Bettis, you see his numbers at AA Tulsa, missed all of last year with a shoulder injury, but he's a former second-round pick out of Texas Tech. And Julio Teheran really got his season started back in Colorado. Chip, you were talking about that earlier today by email, talking about all of his good work since that frozen game.
Yeah, I thought Julio was pitching tonight for some reason, but
well, I wasn't going to say that.
I will be honest.
Bless your heart.
Honest statement tells me to tell you I was a moron. Anyway, Julio, in his first 3 starts, gave up 13 earned runs. Pitched in Colorado in the 20-degree weather, pitched a brilliant game, and hasn't looked back. So the point being, I would guess someone may have said, if you can pitch like that here and under these conditions, heck, you can be successful any place.
Absolutely. I was watching that on TV. I could not believe it.
Probably had a fire going in the fireplace.
Yeah, I was comfortable.
Yeah, thought you were.
No balls in the strike. And a bouncer toward Helton. That's a fair ball. He's going to sprint to the first base bag. He'll get there in time, but not before Simmons comes home to score the 8th Atlanta run. A productive out for Jason Hayward, his 27th RBI.
Adam Ottavino, the pitcher, old number 8, is 6'5", 230, 27 years old, out of Brooklyn, New York, where in high school he averaged 17 strikeouts per start. Threw 8 one-hitters in high school and attended Northeastern University. 5-1 last year for the Rockies, all out of the bullpen.
Heavy lifting for him tonight. Going to gobble up some innings and save their bullpen. As Tyler Chatwood knocked out after 2 innings and 1/3. Here's Upton. He's 2 for 2 with a run scored.
I bet it's been a long time since the Braves have had a 6-run inning in 3 straight games.
Breaking ball. Upton took it. Strike 2.
94, 95 on the fastball. And you just saw the slider.
Now 2-2. Phillies are losing tonight. The Giants all over Philadelphia, 7-1. That's only in the 3rd inning. Phillies have imploded. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They're at the moment 11.5 out. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And there's the slider. Upton thought it was low, but he's caught looking. And that'll retire the side. 11 come to the plate, 7 score. 8-0 Atlanta as we head to the 4th.
Well, Braves dominating offense obviously isn't an issue tonight. The question is, how would a young rotation hold up once you get to the postseason? I asked Brian McKeon the key to postseason pitching earlier today.
It's the intensity. Every pitch matters. The atmosphere, the magnitude of every single pitch. I mean, there's nothing like playoff baseball. I mean, when you step on that field for a playoff game, I mean, it's what you live for.
Now, guys, afterwards I asked him about Minor and Tehran, two young guys who are getting it done. Their best quality, he said, they listen, not just to him, but also pitching coach Roger McDowell.
So here's our Firestone Complete Auto Care Extra Mile Index. Yes, they're young. Yes, they are playoff inexperienced. But fellas, they're awfully good too, and that's oftentimes the part that's forgotten about when you talk about first-year or second-year players in the big leagues. Talent always wins out, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I think, you know, this is a rotation that's built for the long haul, many years of competitive baseball, not just this year. So, you know, if some additions happen occasionally, that's good stuff. But how can you not like these guys, even at their relatively young age? Hard to argue with the numbers.
Some of the best games in recent World Series history have been pitched by young pitchers who did not have any major league experience.
Simmons gets Fowler. One down.
And the first guy that comes to mind for me is Madison Bumgarner, who's pitched so well for the Giants. He didn't have an ounce of postseason history and unhittable. I don't think he's given up a run in 2 starts in the World Series.
And that extends to position players too. Just think about Andrew Jones in the World Series, what he did against the Yankees.
Yeah, not bad at 19 years old.
So Charlie Culberson back in the batter's box. He flied to center his first time up. And Minor jumps ahead with a strike.
Well, this is a team really that's coming into his own. As we talked about the graphic before the game, Joe, no errors this homestand. They're playing some good defense. So if you're going to get into the playoffs and you talk about that, how you win there, you got to have everything clicking. You're going to have to make some plays defensively, which they are. You got to have a lockdown bullpen, which they have. So, you know, you put the starting pitching, you talk about it not being there, but this team's hitting, defense, and closing games out. And that's a comfortable feeling as a starting pitcher, I would imagine, when you take them out.
We mentioned Tim Hudson earlier and how he's lost for the season, but you know, as soon as he feels up to it, maybe by the next homestand, I think you're going to see a lot of him around the clubhouse. He'll be a wonderful counselor, if you will, to some of these young guys in the way they're pitching.
One ball, 2 strikes. And that's over the outside corner. Culberson caught looking and didn't like the call. Minor has 4 strikeouts and has whiffed 3 of the last 5 Rockies hitters.
We get backdoor breaking ball here. Nope. Change up. And got the call from Marty Foster a little off the plate.
Carlos Gonzalez was scheduled to hit. That's not Carlos.
That's Charlie Blackmon.
Guessing the hand, the elbow, the shoulder, something for Gonzalez is bothering him.
Oh, I beg your pardon. That's not Blackmon.
DJ LeMahieu's going to pinch hit. As soon as we find out what's up with Cargo, we'll let you know. Ground ball third. Johnson scoops that up. Minor has another easy time of it. He's through 4 shutout innings with a Giant lead, 8-0. Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price, every day. 2 changes for the Rockies. DJ LeMahieu's going to remain in the game. He'll play second base. And Charlie Culberson moves from second to left. Carlos Gonzalez out of the game with injury.
Sprained finger on his right hand is what the report is on Gonzalez.
I think that had been a problem for him coming in to this series in Atlanta. Got him in the first inning tonight. Another shot off Freeman's bat. That's going to get down for a hit as well. He's 3 for 3.
Whatever angles we've got on this, I want to see every replay, because he kept his hands in, and it's almost, Dale, like those once in a while swings where your hips almost swing the bat for you.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
That's a short stroke.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good observation. That's a good way to put it, Joe, too, is you know, all bat speed in the golf swing or the baseball swing is legs and hips. And we get too conscious of, you know, of our arms. Just kind of let them react to that lower body. That's a really good way to put it. Because that upper body, when that, you know, in golf, I play more that more now than I do baseball, so that's why I always talk about it. But you know, you start getting your hands and your arms and you hook it and slice it.
Yeah.
And if you just kind of concentrate on going to the ball, let your hips and legs, that's what it looked like to Freddie. I think that's a real good point and a good way to think about an approach. But that's what he's doing. He's not thinking about anything except busting those hips open and going to the ball.
Gaddis takes a strike. Batting behind Evan tonight is Brian McCann. Our Delta Airlines on deck hitter is already tallied a 3-run homer tonight. Braves sent 11 men to the plate in the third and scored 7 times. And lead 8-0. Gaddis didn't get the slider and is struck out. 1 on, 1 out.
It's a nasty slider. That's the one that struck out Justin Upton last inning.
McCann's 15th homer came in his last at bat. And the folks at ESPN had a great stat on Brian McCann a moment ago. Brian now has 8 seasons of 15 or more homers. That's tied for 4th among big league catchers in the history of the game. Johnny Bench had 13 seasons of 15 or more home runs. And with the 3rd inning blast, McCann's now 2nd all-time among Braves catchers in franchise history with 171 of them. Next up for him is Javier Lopez, who hit 214 home runs behind the plate. And Ottavino just balked Freeman to second.
Did they say what other catchers were between Brian and Johnny Bench? Yeah, head move first.
They did not. But I'm sure we can find out. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Guessing Yogi Berra might be on that list. Maybe Carlton Fisk too.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, when you're top 3, 4, 5 all time for your position, that's
pretty good.
Real heady stuff.
Yeah, it is. I just one of the best. Obviously, since we're just quoting these statistics, but what a swing for a catcher. You know, coming into the game, drafted as a catcher, I was always told, play some defense. Didn't quite work out that way. But, just hit what you can as a catcher. Just hit what you can, Call a good game, throw some guys out. Your offense will be a bonus.
That's to the right side. LeMahieu scoops it up. And a runner at third with 2 outs now.
When you and I first signed, I think there was the feeling that fastest way to the big leagues was as a catcher.
Yeah. Definitely, because your offense was a secondary thing. And then the game's changed. I mean, you got to. I mean, obviously, he's. What you said, 4th or 3rd in the history of this.
Tied 4th in 15-plus homer seasons as a catcher.
You know, so we're talking about it, obviously an elite offensive catcher. But nowadays that's the way it's going. I think every position has changed. Remember, 20, 25, 30 years ago, shortstops could hit 2 whatever. They didn't care.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't make an error. Everybody's got to produce now, and Brian McCann is at the top of that category as a catcher.
Chris Johnson has a 1-for-2 game. He's added a point to his batting average. He's up to .342 now.
Definitely one thing that's a lot different, I think, Joe, than when you and I played, is those middle infielders being so productive offensively.
I agree.
Johnson first in the league in hitting. Michael Kadire of the Rockies second. Yadier Molina third for the Cardinals. And Molina is not going to have a chance to add to his numbers for the next couple of weeks. Disabled today by the Cardinals. They had to drain fluid out of his knee. It's called a knee sprain. As Chris rolls to the left side, and a miscommunication. The ball trickles between Tulowitzki and Arenado. And Atlanta gets a gift run. It's 9-0.
And that ought to be his 6th straight multi-hit game.
I agree with you. I'm waiting to see, making sure, but I agree with you. Gave it to him good. Yeah, well hit ball, tough play for either one of those guys if either one of them catches.
Johnson's red-hot hitting continues. The Braves had a 4th inning run to lead 9-0. And here's Ugla. He's been hit by a pitch and struck out. One more note on Yadier Molina. The Cardinals were saying they're not overly concerned about the injury, but rumor has it they were shopping around for a catcher in the final hours before the trading deadline. As Dan skies one to center. That'll be playable for Dexter Fowler. He's back a couple of steps and makes the play. Atlanta cashes in a leadoff hit by Freeman and an infield hit by Chris Johnson. Sponsor of the Atlanta Braves.
And time for Georgia Power Energy tip number 4. Jeff Blauser, number 4. Georgia Power's commercial energy efficiency program can help any size business save money and energy. Rebates are available to help business customers make efficiency improvements. Learn more at georgiapower.com/commercial savings.
Well, Jack Morris once said, "I've never lost with 10." Mike Minor's one shy of that, but he leads 9-0 after 4. And Tulowitzki, Kadire, and Arenado are coming up. Two balls, no strikes. Colorado's had one base runner in this game. That was their leadoff man, Dexter Fowler, who was later thrown out trying to steal in the first inning. And not much Walt Weiss could do about another poor start by one of his starters in this series. Tonight it was Tyler Chatwood's turn. He gave up 8 runs, 10 hits, and 2 1/3. Fouled back by Tulowitzki.
I think all these injuries, we were talking about Troy Tulowitzki last night, maybe has cut down on his foot speed with the injuries. I think it's really cut down on his range at shortstop, seeing what I'm seeing here in this series. He was on the disabled list in 2008 with a left quadricep tear, a tendon tear. He's also had a right hand laceration on the DL with a fractured left wrist.
Slow roller to first. Easy play for Freeman. He makes it 1 out.
And last year played in the fewest games he's ever played in, only 47. He was diagnosed with what was called hockey/baseball pitcher syndrome, which is a type of athletic pubalgia or core injury to his left groin. He actually had to have his groin surgically repaired by a doctor in Philadelphia. So, needless to say, that's going to cut into some of your speed and range.
So let me ask you this. Why make Tulowitzki a third baseman?
Well, there was maybe some talk about that from some of the fans who want to make sure that he's healthy enough to play because of his bat. But given their young third baseman that they're so high on, with Helton a question mark, maybe first base.
No balls, 2 strikes. The count to Michael Kadire. He lined out to center in his only at bat tonight. Well outside, 1-2. There were some folks who were speculating whether or not the Rockies would have considered trading this guy.
Well, Dale and I would take him.
Yes. love his swing. You know, I love he wears number 3 from his friendship and association with Harmon Killebrew.
Oh, really?
Who he met in Minnesota. And there's a real good story about him and Harmon Killebrew at an autograph signing. He
swing and a miss. Kadire's down on strikes. 2 out.
One of the knocks on today's players is their autograph. I mean, not to get too technical about it, they probably sign more than we ever did, but they're hard to read. I think everybody would agree. I've talked to some collectors, and they had a Twins thing in the off season, and Kadire was at one end of the table, and Harmon Killebrew was at the end. And you know, Harmon kept seeing these balls come through, and he's looking at these guys' autograph. He stood up and came down to Kadire and said, "When you sign your name, you should be proud of it, and you should make sure people can read it. If another ball comes through here that I can't read your signature, I'm leaving."
Wow.
Good story.
Here by Arenado, and he'll dump a looping single into right field. That's the second hit of the game for Colorado. And that'll bring up Todd Helton. Now,
what
are we doing here?
I'm honored. John Holland, head of the visitors clubhouse, brought this up from Todd Helton. He wanted me to sign a jersey. So I'm going to sign this. Well, he didn't designate it to do it while he's hitting. Let's hope it doesn't bring him too much good luck, but I'm honored to sign this jersey for Todd Helton.
Now, if you sign it and we can't read it, really. One ball, no strikes.
So I got to think of something to say here. I'll wait until it's at bat before I sign it.
Well, see, I think the thing about Todd hitting was just an excuse for John to sit up here and watch the game for a couple of innings.
Yeah.
And I'll be down in the clubhouse.
That's right.
There's a strike. It's 1-1.
Well, it is an honor for me to sign this, and for one of the great players, like you guys have been saying, this might be the last time. He hasn't said anything official. There's been some rumblings. He's had a few injuries, but class guy, great hitter, great ball player.
And part of that speaks to Todd's character and his humility. He didn't want a farewell tour. He didn't want to be serenaded, didn't want the gifts, didn't want to be showered with a whole lot of affection around Major League Baseball. So if this is it, Helton's going to go out quietly and proudly as a member of the Rockies.
Well, he's been, what was it, 17th year, and this is the 21st year of the Rockies. It's his, is that right?
He's their Chipper Jones.
Yes.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Good point. Good way to say it, giving everybody a lot of good memories.
And a swing and a miss, and that'll retire the side. Murph will sign the jersey for Todd Helton, and Mike Minor makes his way to the dugout. He's pitching a masterpiece, a 2-hit shutout, and he enjoys a 9-0 lead.
In fact, you can just find the visitors' bullpen, and it's right behind it. Why is Waffle House so popular with baseball players? Simple. There's roughly 60 minor league teams in Waffle House country down in the southeast. Makes it easy to find something late, whether at the ballpark or on the road.
Like 3 years ago, when I was playing in my first year in AA, some of my teammates told me about Waffle House, and then I can't stop it.
I've eaten plenty of Waffle House in minor league baseball. Probably the All-Star Special is, the go-to, so I'll stick with that.
We'll go chopped, and we'll go smothered too. Got to have it that way. And I tell you what, I'm excited to hear that they got one up here on the concourse, so we're going to have to make a trip up there as a bullpen.
And how about this? It's also good luck. Look at some of the specialty stands that have come into play at Turner Field over the last couple of years. Undefeated with the Waffle House, which was founded right here in Atlanta. I'm waiting on my taste, guys, but it's coming.
Great numbers. Just great numbers. That looks like a rally hat almost, you know?
Yeah, I like it. So not surprisingly, the Braves with a 36-15 home mark. They're eating up the opponents.
Here we go.
Turner Field popped up by Simmons. Headed short. Tulowitzki's got it. There's out number one. Mike Miners helped himself with an RBI hit. He's got 6 RBIs this year. And he'll bat with the bases empty. Of course, the trade deadline is come and gone. That elapsed at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Tom showed you the deals that were made. There was a little more urgency in a couple of other places, fellas, around Major League Baseball. Quite obviously, the cloud hanging over the game right now is the biogenesis story. And word has come down tonight that 20 players may learn their fates, if they haven't already, for the weekend. And as you know, Ryan Braun's already negotiated his suspension with Major League Baseball. He's finished for the rest of this season. He'll be eligible to play in 2014 for Milwaukee. Minor, another pop-up, another chance for Tulowitzki, who drifts back. And he makes the play for out number 2. One of the teams that was going to be really impacted, or potentially could be impacted, is the Detroit Tigers, who may lose their shortstop, Johnny Peralta. That's why they made the big deal, that 3-team deal that brought them a shortstop, Jose Iglesias, from the Red Sox.
Good move on the part of the Tigers to preempt that in case they do lose Peralta.
Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see. There's some going to be interesting. I think we'd all agree the harder they hit it, the penalties, I think it'll get guys' attention. I understand. I read some of the frustration of some of the front office executives with the delay in announcing this thing, but I think I understand that frustration. But we also got to remember the reason why we're having the problems is guys took the PEDs in the first place. That's the problem. And I'm a little concerned too that wonder that the testing is, you know, the guys that use this stuff, they're always ahead of the testing. We got to remember that this was not found via testing.
Right.
This is kind of fell into MLB's lap. So a little concerned, but I think if you deal out some pretty strict penalties, I think we'll make an impact.
You guys are former players. Are you proud of what baseball and the union have combined to do to try to clean up the game here in the last handful of years?
I'm proud of it, only in the progress they've made. I think it's been a little late to the party in some respects. I don't think we'll see what these penalties are, but short of lifetime bans, I think they're a little slight. I don't think these 50 and 60 game suspensions are enough, quite personally, but because gambling is a lifetime ban. If you're caught gambling, see Pete Rose.
Right.
Lifetime ban. How is that cheating any different than this cheating on the field that was so widespread? I don't know what it's going to take to get the attention of the participants to not do it, short of a lifetime ban.
Well, that would change the culture. I don't think there's any doubt about that. 50-game suspension with continuing on with making big money.
Hayward will reach first as a ball in the dirt. Couldn't be scooped up by Torrealba. And how about Hayward's creative ways of reaching base tonight? An error, a walk, and now a strikeout wild pitch.
Which he also did last night.
That's what leadoff hitters do, right?
There you go.
He's adopted that role really well. He really is. Not easy to bounce around in the lineup. Freddie's pretty free with the guys he moves around, but they sure adapt well.
Well, if you can't get a lifetime ban, would it be any more or less likely that teams would be allowed to void contracts? Would that be as big a deterrent from a former player's perspective, fellas?
Well, I think either one is worth talking about. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the the thing is, the culture of gambling on the game is set in stone, and it has been for years. If there's anybody in baseball that's gambling on baseball, I would be really shocked, because everybody knows. Now, are there some guys? Yes. But now if you ask me the same question about PEDs, I'm not shocked when guys are using them, because the culture isn't there. Nothing's been there to create that culture and that mindset. And so either one of those, Chip, would go that direction. But when you're facing the possibility of ending your career, you don't take that stuff. That's why you don't gamble on baseball. In fact, that's why the commissioner calls you in if you even associate with gamblers.
And from an ownership standpoint, from the players and fans' perspective, teams are paying the players a lot of money. The fans are paying a lot of money to watch the players play. Isn't there some bit of fraud that's going on because the players are quietly doing something that they shouldn't be doing, which is making them something they're not? I wonder if that would be an avenue where baseball could attempt to get out of those contracts for the players who take the PEDs.
I just don't think it would make any difference, Chip. I think you might be able to avoid those contracts, and that would damage that particular player temporarily, because I think then there would be a rush to, okay, well, we can rehab the guy. Let's sign him.
Sure. Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that
I think
part.
there'd be a competitive fight to get those players that all of a sudden become free agents, and I don't know if you've accomplished anything.
Swing and a miss by Justin Upton, and that ends Atlanta's fifth inning. Big night again for the Atlanta offense, leading 9-0, and Mike Miners firing a 2-hit shutout too. It's going to be a very busy Subway in-game box score, and here it is.
Everybody's chipping in. Everybody's had a little part of the action, with the exception of Dan Ugla, but he did reach base when he was hit by a pitch. Sixth time this year he's been hit by a pitch. And Jason Hayward, the only other fellow without a hit, but he's scored 2 runs.
So Mike Miner goes back to work. He's got the 8, 9, and 1 spots in Colorado's 6th inning. And a strike. That's high and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Another great game in Pittsburgh, where the Cardinals lead the Pirates 4-3 in the 4th inning. That's Adam Wainwright pitching for St. Louis. Well, that's a huge game for both Pirates and Cardinals. Pittsburgh leads the Central by a game and a half. St. Louis has lost 6 straight.
And the Reds had a chance to catch up a little bit, and today they finally won a game out west.
Little pop. Shallow right, And Ugla made a tough play to retire Torrealba. That's out number 1.
I was curious about the 3 straight games where the Braves have had at least one 6-run inning or better. That's the most by the Braves in the live ball era, which is since 1918. They're the first major league team since the Yankees in May of '09. First National League team since the Florida Marlins in July of '06. Obviously, just doesn't happen too often.
This is Corey Dickerson. He'll bat for Adam Ottavino, who gave up a run in 2 2/3 innings. He allowed a couple of hits, struck out 4 men. And Dickerson looks outside at ball 1. Dickerson, then Fowler in the Rockies' 6th. And fouled straight back. 1 ball, 1 strike. You guys surprised the Pirates weren't able to add somebody at the deadline today?
A little bit, but again, cost, you know.
But they need someone. Grilly's out, right? For what do we?
He said 4 to 6 weeks and has vowed to be back before the end of the season. He's got a forearm issue.
Still a little shocked that you wouldn't do something to alleviate that potential problem. If he's out 4 to 6 weeks, then you got to make sure he comes back. He's got to go through rehab. You got to make sure he's throwing like he was before. And you haven't been in a situation like this in 20 years. A little shocked they didn't do something there. Try to do something.
You know, Brian Wilson, the former Giants closer, was kind of having an open tryout at UCLA, throwing for some teams, and learned today that he signed with the Dodgers on a 1-year deal. That would be a place you'd think that the Pirates would have a ton of scouts real fast out there to watch him throw.
And maybe they did. Maybe they didn't.
Could have.
Like what they saw, perhaps.
That's right. That's quite
true.
Possible.
I said they should have tried to do something. I don't know. Maybe they did try, like you say, but still, it is a little shocking that, you know, your guy like really having a year like that goes down and you don't do something.
Another team that surprised me a bit today was the Mets. I thought the New York club had a couple of pieces that they could move, especially in light of Molina's injury. I'm sure John Buck would have been an interesting guy. Marlon Byrd in the outfield for New York. But the Mets kept those guys as well. A shot to second off the bat of Dickerson. Close play. And just in time for out number 2. Dickerson gets down the line in good shape.
I think that Molina thing, the Yadier Molina issue, will be an interesting to watch, because I know from personal experience, when you go into a knee to get fluid out, my memory, if memory serves, it's can be pretty serious, because something's going on there to create the swelling. I guess the big thing is if the swelling stays down, then you're pretty clear.
And we've talked so much about Molina's offensive abilities. He shuts down the running game, and you can't, I don't think, overestimate how important he is in handling that Cardinals pitching staff.
You're absolutely right there. Going over scouting reports with the World Baseball Classic as we played. Where is he from Puerto Rico? I'm getting my teams mixed up.
Puerto Rico.
And just hearing everybody talk about him and looking at scouting reports and watching him handle a staff in that situation, I mean, he controls the game back there. A very, very smart catcher.
Toward third, gotta hurry. Johnson unloads and gets Fowler by a step. Minor is rolling merrily along through 6 innings. The Braves are creaming the Rockies. 9-0 is your score. Salty here at home. They have an undefeated homestand working, trying to make it 6 in a row behind Mike Minor tonight. Let's go back to our AT&T U-verse trivia question. Since 2007, Dan Ugla and Troy Tulowitzki are first and third in RBIs among National League middle infielders. Who's second in RBIs in that stretch?
Well, I like who Joe's going with. I heard him talk about who I think you're going with, but I'm going to go with someone different. Is this a team victory, or is this an individual thing?
Oh, no, it's team.
Okay. So I'll just spread out. I'm going to go with Starlin. Well, wait.
Since 07.
Oh, then he wouldn't fit, would he?
Well, he's played since 07, but he'd have to have an awful lot of RBIs the last couple of years.
I'll go with Jimmy Rollins.
I'll stay with Brandon Phillips, but I'm torn between he and Chase Utley.
Yeah, I was thinking about Chase Utley, too.
I'll say Brandon Phillips.
I'll say Chase Utley.
There we go. We got it covered.
Way to go, guys.
Thank you. It's a team victory. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep.
Dickerson's in right field for Colorado. Kadier gets the rest of the night off, and the guy with a great name for a relief pitcher's on. That's Josh Outman.
And check out the stirrups. Wow.
Freddie Freeman swinging a magic wand. He's got another hit. He's 4 for 4, all of them singles.
Well, that's the pitch there that drives pitchers crazy when Freddie does that. We've seen him do it a few times. Tough breaking ball from a left-hander on the black, and he does that. It does that with those long arms he has. Probably thinking I made a real good pitch right here. You did make a good pitch.
Yes, he did. A little Ric Flair to left.
Here's Evan Gattis. And he shoots one past Tulowitzki. Man, oh man, he got a late break on that ball.
Did you see what it did, though, Chip? I don't know if it was knuckling or not, but it took a right turn from our perspective away from Tulowitzki.
$14 Atlanta hits.
Watch this thing start slicing. I'm not sure you could tell it from the replay or not, but we could see it from up here. Might have been knuckling.
Well, when you hit a knuckleball, obviously you squared it up as good as you can square. I mean, it's got to be a perfect place on the bat. You didn't hit it on the top of the ball. You didn't hit it on the bottom to create the backspin, but that's a scary thing when you see a knuckleball coming at you. I can imagine what it's like with being a shortstop. I've had him come to me as an outfielder. It's no fun. It's a little scary as an infielder. The main thing was that was another laser.
Not so great as a catcher either, right? The knuckleball?
No, we don't have to get into that, dude. I was having a pretty good night till that memory came back trying to catch Nuxie. Oh, man, that's right. No fun. Either way. Knuckleballs are no fun.
And a foul ball off the bat of Brian McCann, who's earned our SunTrust Shining Moment honors tonight.
He got all of this. Not that it went a long way, but it was a low rocket. Got that list. Laser Baker got all those catchers that have had 15-plus home run seasons. And I'll tell you who he's tied with 8. It's a stellar list.
First, the 0-2 pitch from Josh Outman.
He's tied with Roy Campanella, Del Crandall, Javi Lopez, and Ted Simmons. The most, Johnny Bench and Carlton Fisk, each with 13 seasons of 15 or more homers. Then come Berra and Lance Parrish and Mike Piazza with 12 such seasons. Then Gary Carter and Jorge Posada with 11 each.
Wow.
And Pudge Rodriguez with 10.
So McCann's ranking that I mentioned earlier was for the National League, then, correct? He's 4th in the National League overall. Is that right? Tied for 4th.
I will have to
Popped up.
break it down.
And back out of play.
That would be National League.
So think about that, folks. In the history of the senior circuit, McCann's got the 4th most 15 homer seasons as a catcher. Amazing. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And now at even count. Pop fly left side. Arenado over near the Rockies dugout. Got to the railing, but couldn't come up with it. And we'll do it again. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I guess the question would be why is it so rare to have such? Why is the position of catcher historically not been, an offensive position? I would say a couple of things come to mind mentally. Since you got to hit with a fresh mind. Mentally, you're going through so many things anyway as a catcher, and then injuries. So you're going to have little foul tips off your hands and things that always bother you. It's a tough position to be offensively productive.
McCann took a strike at the knees, and he knew it. There's the first out. I can't imagine what it was like catching in the 40s and 50s in the heat of the summer in Philadelphia or New York, in the flannel uniforms without the modern fabrics and equipment that they have now. Just factor in that, catching 125, 30 games in that heat with the wool uniforms. Wear you down.
Yeah, and the equipment, the protection you had. I actually caught in high school with a catcher's glove mitt that had no break.
Just round.
Just round. It's the first catcher's mitt I had, and you really had to get that other hand involved more in catching the ball. Now with the hinge, you can protect that right hand. But I had a number of foul tips off my right hand. But you always looked at the old catcher's hands. And they had fingers going every which way.
That was the late, great Ernie Johnson, one of his great lines. Boy, we miss Ernie here in Atlanta. As Chris Johnson skies one to right. And Dickerson's going to catch that. And he does. Ernie used to always say, you can always tell when 2 old catchers are meeting because they can't get their hands apart when they shake hands.
That's a good one. I think Bench was the first one-handed catcher. I think his dad taught him at an early age that thing about quickest way to the big leagues was make your son a catcher. So Mr. Bench did and taught him how to catch one-handed, put his hand behind his back. He was the first guy I remember seeing do that.
Well, there is always a premium. I was drafted as a catcher, so most catchers are immediately invited after you play your first summer, but you're invited to big league camp, so you get an early look just because you're a catcher. You're there warming guys up. If you can call a game and throw some guys out, play defensively, certainly you move through an organization fast. Then if you hit, wow.
And in the other league, quite obviously, the catchers have a huge advantage. They can DH and still hit, as opposed to the National League where the pitchers are in the lineup. And Brian Snitker got hit by that foul ball.
on the arm, I think.
Well, he's got to be down the line a little bit to get a good view for the runner coming from second, but that's the danger of coaching third with a guy on second. If no one's on second, you're way down that line, but ouch.
That hurt. That was chasing him. It's the worst when it's hooking at you and you think you're going the right way and it's coming the same way you're going. Let somebody else get it right. He's not going to pick it up right-handed. Well, he did. Tossed it. Okay.
And that hurt.
Ow.
Ouch, ouch. He's doing a pretty good job of not showing it, though. Nice going, Snit.
Another reason why they started wearing helmets a few years ago. It was a great idea. Long time coming.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Dan Uggla.
You know, I know that's the right position for him to be in case there's a base hit so that he can get a little longer look to see whether or not to wave Freddie Freeman in. But with Dan Uggla up there, I'd be down near the end of the Rocky dugout.
Well, that's where Rene Latchman used to stand when he was with the Cardinals, when Mark McGuire would bat for St. Louis, just to give him a few extra seconds of reaction time on those hard hit balls pulled by a right-hand hitter.
Well, I wouldn't blame him at all if he moved down. He's hanging in there.
Yeah.
Hasn't moved yet.
I mean, let's think about that. 90 feet to third base. If he's inside that box, he's maybe 65, 70 feet away, you think? Now let's check out Terry Pendleton. Yeah.
And Brian Snitker's not looking at the batter like Terry Pendleton is.
Exactly. You get a last-minute glance, last-second glance. Well, I coached first base in that World Baseball Classic, and you know I haven't been on the field at major league level for so long, and it's a little nerve-wracking.
Fast game, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. And you don't react like you used to, and you don't see like you used to, and some of these big left-handers come up.
Runners go, pulled toward third. Arenado gloves, grabs, and guns to first in time. And that'll retire the side. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. We head to the 7th. We'll check on Brian Snitker when we come back. Of the 7th inning. Big night for Atlanta. And we hope you'll join us on our next homestand when the Marlins come to town. Yes, indeed, the Miami Marlins with a lot of new faces, a lot of good, young, talented players. And they'll be here Friday, August 9th through Sunday, August the 11th. Georgia Lottery, as always, presents Friday night fireworks. And good tickets are available online at braves.com/tickets or by phone at 800-745-3000. Charlie Culberson goes to work and fouls one off McCann's mask. Strike one.
Charlie's still looking for his first big league hit. He is now 0 for 4. I had Laser Baker look it up for us, guys. He was born in Rome, as you pointed out, Chip. He lives now in Plainville, Georgia. Not like Smallville, USA, where Superman's from. Plainville, Georgia. It's in northwest Georgia.
To center.
It's between Rome and Calhoun. The 2000 population was 257.
Wow.
He's a big deal there.
I'll bet. That's awesome. And he's 0 for 3 here tonight. Colorado's got to be concerned about Carlos Gonzalez, who left with a finger injury tonight. He had just one at bat, lost the bat handle during his first inning strikeout, and came out of the game a couple of innings later. DJ LeMahieu took over for him on the lineup card and at second base. It's an important trip for the Rockies, maybe a last gasp for them with their big deficit out west. And it's a tough trip. Atlanta first, Pittsburgh, then the New York Mets. And this series has not gone well at all for them. They've been totally manhandled by the Braves offense in the first 3 games.
And a 2-hit shutout working for Mike Minor tonight on the heels of that 4-hitter over 7 innings he threw against the Cardinals. Ace-like work. A lot of fastballs, guys. He is really early in the game, before the game got out of hand, he was going after him, challenging him.
You mentioned that cutter would be a key for him tonight.
I'm sure that's been part of the arsenal.
And out of play. I know there's a discussion in baseball now. We've touched on it a bit in this series about maybe eliminating the win for starting pitchers, because so many other things can be out of a pitcher's control, like run support, errors, and the like. But a real good indication of how well a pitcher pitches is a team's record in the games in which he's pitched. Mike Minor's got 10 wins and 5 losses. The Braves are 14-7 in his starts this year.
But let me, I think we're trying too hard, guys, on this stuff.
I'm with you.
I'm with you, too.
I was trying too hard.
It's just out there. It's on Twitter, Joe.
Okay.
It's on Twitter.
But let me give
no,
you
but I know it. But I understand the argument. Certainly.
Let me give you
but I would
Mike.
agree with you. I think we're all in the same boat. But
Hayward tracks down LeMahieu's drive to the warning track in center. 2 out.
Jason gets good jumps and makes good adjustments on balls. Done a great job out in center. But let me give you something as an example, maybe as a counter to what that argument might be. Mike is in 3 starts against the Rockies. He's 2-0. Never lost to him.
Right.
Has a 5.50 ERA coming into tonight. But he's averaged 6.5 runs of support. So that's covered up a 5.5 ERA in 3 starts. So I don't know if that 2-0 record, as you said, will be an indication of how well he pitched, or the record is an indication of how much his team supported him.
I think we're saying the same thing,
yeah,
but arguing different ends of the argument.
Yes.
No one ever talks about, well, he's 2-0 because he got 9 runs a game and has a 7-point ERA. We're always quick to say when a pitcher has lost 5 of his last 6 decisions, but the team scored 11 runs in those 6 outings. And you see, you're right. Big run support against Colorado.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Chip, in how the team does when he's pitching, or what did you call it, when games he starts.
Yeah. What's a team's record in a starter starts?
A starter starts, yeah. And it's really good.
Well, you saw the inning by inning pitch count for Mike Minor. He has been on cruise control tonight.
Yeah, no matter how you slice it or which stat you look at, he's getting the job done.
And so's the staff. This is game number 108 for Atlanta. They've had 67 quality starts, including Miners tonight. And the only first the ground ball and 2-strike pitch to Tulowitzki. And Mike continues to roll him up and knock him down. We'll talk more about Mike Minor's season and night as we head to the stretch, up 9-0. Been brilliant tonight. The Rockies have left only one man on base. They have only 2 hits in the game. And the Braves continue to support him with gigantic offense. 9 runs on 14 Atlanta hits. And no, someone didn't paint a watercolor under that guy's right eye. Atlanta has beaten up Colorado again tonight, as you'll see on our Crown Royal game summary.
Again, a lot of A's across there on some caps. Mike Minor has not allowed a runner to second base tonight. Another start with no walks. A lot of runs to work with after the 7-run 3rd inning. Brian McCann, a big part of that. He's had a 3-run homer, and Chris Johnson has extended his hitting streak to 9 games.
We'll get another look at Wilton Lopez, 53rd game for the Rockies relief pitcher. And a couple more changes for Colorado. Herrera's at shortstop. And Willen Rosario, normally a catcher, takes over for Todd Helton. And Simmons skies one foul out of play. Andrelton now 60 plate appearances without a strikeout. And see the medical attention received by Brian Snitker. He's got a bandage on that right wrist. And that hit Simmons, and on the ricochet got the home plate umpire. That's twice tonight that Foster's been hit. Once with the bat of Carlos Gonzalez, this one on the pitched ball.
Well, you don't often see an umpire mask off, hat off, and that kind of pain, but it got him on the arm. His left arm exposed, ricochet off Andrelton, and then right on the forearm.
Barely got Andrelton's jersey, so it didn't slow up that much. It wasn't like it glanced off his body somewhere. Hit off his jersey and man. Jim Lovell's going to have to wrap somebody else's arm now.
You can already see the welt rising on the left arm. And I don't know if he's going to be able to continue. One of the umpires is headed for the umpire's dressing room. He may have to put on the gear and go back behind the plate.
Oh boy,
I think you're right, Chip.
If Marvin Hudson goes in and puts the gear on, which looked like he did, then they will work with 3 umpires and send Mr. Foster in to get x-rays.
And that's the protocol. You follow the normal rotation. If the home plate umpire gets injured, the first base umpire, if needed, can go in and put on the protective gear to work behind the plate. And if need be, the umpires will have a 3-man crew for the rest of the game. But a hit on the left arm of Marty Foster may knock him out of the game. He'll go get checked out. We'll return in a moment. And his return to work behind the plate. Marty Foster leaves with an injury. Tim McClelland will head down to the umpire's room as well, with Atlanta up 9-0 here in their half of the 7th inning. Joe's mentioned a couple of times the Braves after this series have a lot of games within their division. A big series here in Atlanta comes up against the Phillies Monday, August 12th. Through Wednesday, August the 14th. Grab great ticket deals like the $8 Sport Clips Monday Night Chop ticket and the Coca-Cola 2 for $30 Tuesday special. Visit Braves.com/tickets or call 800-745-3000 today.
Hey, while we've got a second, guys, a shout out to a couple of our pals. Andy Pollock, one of our producers for several years, has been really had a battle on his hands. He's doing better, I understand. So shout out to Andy. Glad you're doing better, Andy, and hope you're feeling better. And former Braves pitcher Damian Moss has been quite ill recently. I think he's back home now over in Dublin, Georgia. But if he's watching tonight, we hope Damian's feeling better too.
So we await the resumption of our ball game. And we understand that pitch from Lopez that grazed the jersey top of Simmons and caught the home plate umpire flush on the left arm was 92 miles an hour.
And the scorecard Freddie just gave Jordan Baker was that of home plate umpire Marty Foster, who has the official lineup sheet. Off the jersey, and then a direct shot right into the forearm. You see the ball just drop right there.
And unlike the catcher, you never see an umpire work the game with both hands behind the plate. And if the ball's not caught or it's deflected, they are totally unprotected. For the arms and the elbows. And so we'll let you know what the status of Marty Foster is as soon as we find out tonight. Meantime, we can check the scoreboard here. 9-0 Atlanta has the lead. Murph mentioned earlier that the Nationals lost to the Tigers. That's an 11-1 final. Gio Gonzalez got rocked. And if the Braves win this ball game, and it looks like they will, Atlanta will have a full 11-game lead over the Nationals in Eastern Division play. The Pirates tied the Cardinals. That one's now 4-4 in Pittsburgh, bottom of the 6th inning. You know PNC Park's got to be rocking again today, as the Pittsburgh ball clubs open up a 1.5 game lead in the division, and they're looking for their 4th consecutive victory. Phillies are losing badly to San Francisco at home. That's 9-1 in the 8th inning at Citizens Bank Park. And Cincinnati beat San Diego 4-1. Cubs 4-0 over Milwaukee. And Miami 3-1 over the Mets. That game's in the 8th inning down at Marlins Park.
If the Mets can rally and win, that move into a 3rd place tie with the Phillies.
So our long delay continues in Atlanta with the Braves up 9-0. We'll take another quick break and return in just a moment.
Here, it's been remarkable. He's helped me out so much and learned the game. I came here.
Waiting at the delay here at Turner Field with the Braves on top 9-0. Mike Minor has been sensational so far today. 7 shutout innings, only 2 hits allowed. I asked his catcher, Brian McCann, what made him and Julio Teheran such great young pitchers at this point in their career.
I think their ability to learn from I think we got the best pitching coach hands down in baseball. If you look at what Roger McDowell's done over his career since he's been here, it's been remarkable. He's helped me out so much in learning the game. I came here as a young kid, and you know, he's taught me the game really behind the plate and calling a game, and those guys are listening, and there's no egos in here. If they need a question answered, they go to Roger, and he gives them great advice.
And there's so many great things to talk about in that response from Brian McCann, but what really impacted me the most, the fact that there's no egos up here, that they work as a team to make sure that there aren't any bad questions. Everyone gets their questions answered, so there's nothing left to chance for young pitchers who are still learning the game and learning it quite well, obviously.
Thank you, Tom. And Marvin Hudson has made his way back behind home plate, and he is handed the official lineup card.
And there's going to be a pinch hitter. And is there a pinch runner also? Who's pointing at first?
Yeah, Simmons was hit by the pitch. And let's see if Paul Janisch is going to come over and pinch run. Looks like that's going to be the case.
Yep.
That's something Freddie Gonzalez, I'm sure, was telling Jordan Baker, who was holding the lineup card while Hudson was putting on the gear to work the dish. So we'll have 3 umpires, 2 on the bases. And Lopez will get a few warm-up tosses. Hudson will get a chance to acclimate himself. And Joey Turdoslavich is going to come on at bat for Mike Minor after 7 innings of 2-hit shutout ball. Boy, was he good tonight. I mean, just another outstanding effort for Mike Minor.
He may not have been all that excited about coming out because he probably wanted to hit, number one.
Turdoslavich drives one to deep center. And Fowler makes the grab. Janisch is back to first.
But this time of year, as you're about to enter August, and with a comfortable 9-0 lead, to save him an inning or 2 and a few pitches, why not?
Yeah.
It'll come back to you late in the year.
No question. Absolutely. Zero walks again, is that right?
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
Back-to-back starts for that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, that kind of movement, and you're not walking people. You're going to get pretty good results.
Jason Hayward doesn't have a hit tonight, but he scored a couple of runs. In fact, Jason scored 6 runs in this series. 2 tonight, 3 last night, and 1 in the series opener.
You might draw some comparisons between, because of his size, to Jason Worth, who led off a lot for the Washington Nationals a couple of years ago.
Bouncing ball to second. Herrera, the throw to first way late. I think Jason has a better beard than Worth. We can start the comparisons there and work our way up or down, whichever way you want to do it. He bounced into force play for the second out of the inning.
Or you can go all the way back to the early 80s and Claudell Washington. Playing the outfield, a 20 home run guy. You know, we typically you have the conventional leadoff hitter, but don't have to.
Not always.
It works. Jason doesn't have a hit and already scored 2 runs tonight. That's what leadoff hitters do.
And we've gotten no word tonight on B.J. Upton. The other Braves center fielder was set to begin his rehab assignment tonight at Gwinnett, coming back from the adductor muscle problem. For those of you watching outside Metro Atlanta, we've had some wet weather today, and I don't know if B.J. got into the game or even if they played the game. We'll try to update that for you.
Yeah, Kevin McAlpin is on Twitter saying he was 0 for 3 with a flyout, ground out, and a strikeout. Little details on how well the balls were hit. Could have been line drives, but 0 for 3.
So 1 ball, 2 strikes for BJ's brother Justin Upton. 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, and a run scored for Justin tonight. He's got a 5-game hitting streak now.
Gretchen Caney came up with another big leadoff guy, Corey Hart.
That's
the
right.
Brewers.
Line drive by Upton. That'll get down for a hit. 3 hits for Upton, but Freddie Freeman's done him one better. He's 4 for 4, and is our Zaxby's indescribably good play tonight.
Here's a look at them. Love that one.
That's a good shot there.
And a little Ric Flair to left. I love BJ's swing, or excuse me, Justin's swing right now too. He seems to be waiting better and staying back better, letting his hands work, paying off with a lot of hits.
That's a perfect way of describing the Braves offense tonight. They have 15 hits. And they'll get another turn at the plate.
14 last night.
And so far tonight, I'm showing only 5 strikeouts. Is that what you guys have? I think I've got that guy striking out 5 times to continue
I've got
that.
6.
Okay.
Might have missed Jason's when he struck out and reached.
Oh, yes.
In the 6th.
Oh, there it is right there. Still a good downward trend for you guys.
First month or so of the season, the Braves were striking out 25% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at 10 a game.
Yeah. And that's dropped about 19% Team averaging slightly less than 8 strikeouts per game over the last month. But obviously, if you put the ball in play, something good could happen.
I love it. They had to make an appeal, and look at Tim smiling. He's not used to that. With a 3-man rotation, the third base umpire has to move to the middle of the diamond, cover both bases, second and third.
And Freeman takes a walk. Atlanta's loaded the bases in the 7th. And now Gaddis comes up. Evans 2 for 4.
Braves have had a runner in scoring position every inning except the 5th. And they are 16 for 38 in the series with runners in scoring position.
Wow. Wow.
I'll have to ask Gretchen to look it up. What does the 16 for 38 with RISP do for the overall season number? Braves came in at 254.
Laser Baker is way ahead of it, said it went up.
It's good enough for me. Lopez will work out of the windup. And Gaddis skies one toward left. Culberson comes in and makes the play. And that will retire the side. We go to the 8th. 9-0 Atlanta. out after 7.
Mike Minor's 22nd start, a beauty, and arguably among the best he's had this year. At the target all night long. He only gave up 2 hits. One of those was the leadoff batter in the first. The other was a flare in the 5th. Did not walk a batter. Struck out 6. He's in line for his 11th win.
And he'll give way to Luis Ayala. He answers the AT&T call to the bullpen.
13th game for Luis. He's been in 1 game in this homestand, and that was against the Rockies 2 days ago. Gave up a hit, but zeros across otherwise.
Two other changes for the Braves. Paul Janisch checks in. He'll play shortstop. And Todd Cunningham picked up his first big league hit last night. He has a chance to work defensively here in the 8th inning. Herrera leads off for the Rockies. And Gaddis in for McCann behind the plate. So the big lead late. Both the Braves and Rockies giving some of their regular players some extended rest. Back at it again here tomorrow night. Wrap up the series in homestand. Another defensive change for Atlanta. Joey Trdoslavich is at first base. Thank you, Joe. And strike to Herrera. That's toward third. Tough play, and Johnson dropped it. He knew he had to hurry with Herrera's speed. And the Colorado shortstop reaches with the third Rocky hit of the night. Arenado has one of the Colorado hits in the game. He's now hit safely in 10 of his last 11. And 4 straight. If there's been something the league has been able to exploit, is the double play ball. He leads their club in double plays this year. He's hitting 12 of them.
These professional umpires have been at it a long time. They all know how to work. Certainly when something befalls one of their buddies with a 3-man crew, they know how to handle it. They know how to rotate. They just have to refresh each other and where their responsibilities are.
Bouncing ball to Johnson. There's one. And a wide throw. That one sailed on Dan Uggla. Don't know if Herrera influenced the play as he got to second base. But that could have been another double play ball. It wasn't. 1 on, 1 out.
I don't know unless Dan turned and said, "Where's Freddie?" Well, that just came out of his hand sideways.
I think Herrera might have surprised him a little bit with his speed. Got down there a little quicker than he thought.
It's all forced play, no error. You can't assume the double play. And here's Willem Rosario. Normally a catcher, can play some first base, and is for Todd Helton the rest of the game. Another chance left side. This time Janisch. He fires to Uggla, and no chance to make the play at first. As good as Andrelton Simmons has been at shortstop, we forget last year when Andrelton went down, Paul Janisch stepped in and played as good a shortstop as anybody else in place of Andrelton Simmons last year.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He's a guy that defensively kept the Braves in a lot of ball games down the stretch and put them in a position to make the postseason until he was hurt himself.
Injured a shoulder, making a diving stop. Was lost for the year.
Got a couple of 3 key hits for the Braves too.
Here's Torrealba. And that's a little low. 1 ball, no strikes.
Bill, I don't want to talk about it with 2 outs because there's not enough time, but I want to set it up for the fans that might be interested about your trip that you've got coming up with Major League Baseball to Europe, and talk about those clinics and camps that you guys put on over there. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, let's do that maybe next inning. But I leave for Germany on Friday. Should be a real good experience. I've had a chance to go to Italy and participate in a Major League Baseball academy over there, and went to Brazil this past winter, so it should be fun. We can talk about it some more coming up if we get a chance.
I'm angling for an expansion team in Barcelona.
I think it'd be really cool if somebody moved to Napa Valley.
Well, the A's have been trying. Not Napa, but San Jose, obviously. And who wants it? It's going to be Tradoslavich, and he makes the play to retire the side. The worldwide traveler Dale Murphy will give us his itinerary when we come back for the bottom of the 8th. Seats to watch the Braves take on the Marlins Friday, August 9th through the 11th with our Steal of the Week. Get a Club Pavilion seat and a Braves drawstring bag for as low as $18. That's a savings of up to 40% off. Visit Braves.com/steal to order. Those drawstring bags come in handy with school right around the corner. Braves look for a little more against Lopez. Already 9 runs, 15 hits in this series. The Braves 16 for 39 with runners in scoring position. So Murph, you're off to Germany.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I mentioned I went to Brazil last winter and got to participate in a MLB academy in Brazil for all the players from South America. And I might mention Andre Rienzo was the first Brazilian-born pitcher, pitched Tuesday night in place of Jake Peavy, who was held out because of a possible trade.
Is that right?
Yes.
Cool.
And they have had a Brazilian-born position player but he's the first pitcher. And I just looked at it. I didn't see how he did, but he pitched 7 innings with 0 earned runs. So good job for Brazilian baseball. And I'll tell you, my experience, I've been, like say, in Europe once, and I'm going back to Europe. A lot of kids play a lot of good baseball all over the world, not just in Asia, but you go through other places in the world. And I'm predicting the next 20 years, Brazil's going to see a lot more players. I saw some of their young players there working out while we were having our academy with the high school players. And I think they were a game away this year from upsetting a team over in Asia. I can't remember the details of advancing further than they've ever advanced before, but they were in the qualifying round because they beat Panama last winter. So baseball it's fun to see it internationally in those countries where we typically think of Asian and the Latin American countries. It's happening all over. Got another sport they got to overcome in soccer. Takes up a lot of their time, but as we've learned from Andrelton Simmons, soccer's not a bad sport to play if you want to be a baseball player.
Arenado loads up and just got Cunningham. Bounces out to third to start Atlanta's 8th inning.
Waited for the hop, smothered it, and then showed you really good arm. Cunningham can run too.
Yes, that's a tough play because your first instinct is to want to come in and get it when you got to lay back. Then you know it's going to be a close play, but he showed a really strong arm.
When you go to these countries, Dale, how do you find the local instruction? Is it pretty good? Is it knowledgeable?
That's a real good point. Yes, it is. It's just they love the game. They have a passion for the game, but they tend to not have the experience, which is obvious. Mm-hmm. But they do have a passion for the game. So when we go to something like this, I don't know everybody who's going to be there. I believe Barry Larkin will be there. Bruce Hurst will be there.
Art Howe does a lot.
Yes,
of that too,
Art
right?
Howe. There's a number of guys. Wally Joyner, I was with Wally in Italy. A number of guys that Craig Shipley's been involved a lot. It's kind of a grassroots thing. You not only coach the players, but you also coach the coaches.
Johnson's down on strikes. That's out number 2 in the 8th inning. How long will we be gone?
I'll be gone. I'm going to go a couple days late, so it's about a 3-week camp where the first 3 or 4 days are just a clinic during the day, and then we just break into like a spring training thing. We have an hour and a half of instruction and BP and play inter-squad games. They're heavily scouted. I saw a kid signed by the Phillies that was in Italy last year, and it's really interesting. What's interesting is just see the passion these kids have for baseball. It's so fun because, they of course they watch YouTube and they watch the games and as much as they can, and it's been a great experience. Really thankful for it. So this will be my 3rd trip internationally with MLB, and really look forward. We'll be in Regensburg, Germany. And there's some hot spots around, but some of the countries are just a little thin on everyday baseball for the kids. This gives them a chance for 3 weeks to play every day, and the improvement is pretty dramatic, and scouts can get a good look at it.
I'll bet that in Germany, with our military all over the world, there might be some American-born kids over there too.
Yes, there are, and I think that's an interesting point. I think one of the, I don't know exactly the history of baseball in Asia, but I do know that throughout parts of the world where we've had bases in the military has helped spread the game throughout the history.
High throw by Arenado, and a wide turn from first, and now Uggla is going to have to go to second, and he's going to be run down for the 3rd and final out of the inning. Dan broke towards second with the catcher backing up, had no chance to get back to first, and he is the 3rd and final out in the Atlanta 8th.
wonder if he'd have to wear his dress blues.
Our Driven Series now taking you behind the scenes of the 2013 NHL Draft. The Panthers, Lightning, Predators, and Hurricanes hold top 5 draft picks. And our cameras take you inside the prospects meetings, scouting evaluations, and on the draft floor with each team. Driven, the 2013 NHL Draft premieres Friday at 11:30 on Fox Sports South. And it's presented by Cadillac.
Just a finishing thought, if I might, Laser Baker, let us know that Rienzo, the first Brazilian-born pitcher, faced the first Brazilian-born position player last night in his start, so that's interesting. I'll tell you one other thing. I had one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had. Is we had a clinic and just invited kids to come put on a glove and play baseball and whatever we could teach them. And we take it so much for granted here. These kids did not know how to put on a glove.
Wow.
They and some of them had them on upside down and backwards. And I'm just like, here, put this on and let's play some catch. And they're like, well, how does it work? Yeah, how does it work? But again, I think Brazil is going to be a hotbed of some talent in the next few decades, because once they figured it out, we had a couple kids there that we were astonished. It was their first day of playing catch, because they are so athletic. That country, from the minute they can walk, they're kicking a soccer ball, and so it was really a cool experience. It's a lot of fun, spreads a lot of goodwill, and hopefully we'll teach a little baseball too.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Corey Dickerson, starting the Colorado ninth, 9-0 Braves. And a bouncing ball to third. Chris has it, and his throw's wide at first. And Dickerson makes the turn and will stand at second base to start the inning. That's an infield hit and an error.
First error of the homestand.
It might be a little interesting to watch with Joey T over there. It might have been a little too wide. Sometimes guys that aren't over there all the time stretch a little too early before they can see where the ball was made. But I think Chris Johnson would agree that was a pretty errant throw.
Remember, Dickerson almost beat out an infield grounder his first time up, too. He can really get down the line.
So the first error of the homestand brings Dexter Fowler to the plate. He's 1 for 3. Colorado with just 4 hits tonight.
And their first runner to reach second.
$22,097, the official gate at Turner Field for Game 3.
Dale, many years ago, Don Sutton and I went to Curacao, and while we were there, had an impromptu kind of clinic, and it was in the days before Andrew Jones got to the big leagues, but they had Randall Simon in the organization. So Randall and
deep short. Giannis has no play with the speed of Fowler. Infield hit. First and third for the Rockies in the ninth.
Randall and Andrew were both in attendance, but I can tell you this for a fact. Every one of the Curacao kids knew how to put on a glove. They knew what was going on, and they had it working.
Well, let me tell you how much advanced the game of soccer is in Brazil. They play beach volleyball with 2 people without touching it with their hands or their arms. No, yes, I'm saying they kick the ball. They put the ball on the ground back by the back line in volleyball, kick it over, and then they rally back and forth without touching it with their hands.
Goodness.
No, it's incredible. You can go on YouTube and watch it, but we were watching people do it. We're just astonished. So that's why they don't know how to put on a glove. It's soccer everywhere. But the fact that Andre Rienzo pitched in the big leagues and now he can go back and people can say, well, what is this? It might take a few years, but they're going to figure it out. That it's a great game. The baseball is a great game. Excuse me, Chip.
Fowler runs. Defensive indifference allows him to reach second base. Well, you could put the gloves on the feet of the Brazilian kids, and you might really have something, right?
I think we saw what Anderson Simmons can do with kicking a baseball like a soccer ball. Probably could field it with the glove on their feet.
Swing and a miss by Culberson. He is out number 1. And the contact there would have scored a run for the Rockies, but that's the first out of the inning.
And the obvious thing that I believe will help Brazil is the population. We were in Sao Paulo. I think it's 22 million people, and it's warm weather. One of the challenges in Europe is there's a lot of kids in Czech Republic that play, and Germany and throughout Europe, but weather is a little bit of a challenge for baseball sometimes.
Well, the Netherlands is a hotbed. I mean, they every year in the World Baseball Classic, as you well know, they put together a terrific team. Part of that is Curacao as well. LeMahieu hits. 1 ball, no strikes. Well, I love the internationalization of the game. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetimes, but I'm pretty confident that we'll have teams beyond North America playing Major League Baseball. As technology improves and air travel becomes faster and the world shrinks, it seems totally logical to have a team in Sao Paulo or Mexico City, Barcelona, London, Amsterdam.
Well, for sure, and MLB's opened the season in Japan,
right?
And I have heard rumors of a possible something in the works with opening in Australia.
Wow.
Another area where they play very good baseball.
1 ball, 1 strike to LeMahieu. That's downstairs. It's 2-1. It would be fascinating to have a true World Series. I don't know how you would do it logistically.
Yeah, it would be fun though. And we've learned in the World Baseball Classic it would be tough to win.
Yes, yes. Roller foul, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Braves are trying to hand the Rockies their 8th shutout this year. 7 of them, as you'd expect, have come away from Coors Field. Swing and a miss by LeMahieu. So after trouble for Ayala, 2 strikeouts in a row, as the Braves on the brink of a Game 3 win. As you know, we leave town after the game tomorrow night. We head up to Philadelphia this weekend. The Braves and Phillies meet on Fox Saturday Baseball at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central Time.
That will be Brandon Beachy's 2nd start against a pitcher yet to be named. Braves have 8 shutouts by their pitching staff this year. One for number 9 if Luis can retire, the former Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket.
Ball 1. Charlie Blackmon.
A couple of good sliders for strikeouts, huh? From Luis.
To second. Agla's got it, and the Braves have a perfect homestand still. 9-0 the final score at Turner Field. Mike Minor wins his 11th game of the year, and the Braves are now 11 up in the Eastern Division. More from Atlanta in a moment.